In the vast cold expanse of the Epsilon sector, the human colony of New Horizons stood as a beacon of hope and resilience. Nestled on a terraformed planet with rolling green hills and crystal-clear lakes, the settlement represented humanity's latest frontier of exploration and survival. The colonists, a mix of scientists, engineers, and their families, had spent years transforming this harsh alien landscape into a home. Maya was 8 years old, with bright eyes and a spirit of curiosity that seemed to dance through the colony's biodomes. Her father worked on agricultural research, developing crops that could survive in the challenging environment, while her mother was a communications specialist who maintained the colony's critical network systems. Maya loved exploring the edges of the settlement, watching the strange alien plants that grew in patches between the carefully constructed human structures. On that particular day, the sky looked different. The usual soft blue of the planet's atmosphere was interrupted by the metallic gleam of a Zarian Imperial patrol ship. These encounters were not uncommon. The Zarian Empire considered human colonies as potential resources to be monitored and controlled. The massive ship cast a dark shadow over the settlement, its advanced technology a stark contrast to the simple human structures below. Maya was playing near the western perimeter of the colony, her small hands collecting interesting rock formations she thought might interest her geology-loving aunt. She wore a bright red jacket, a splash of color against the green and gray landscape. The colonists had become somewhat accustomed to these routine patrols, rarely paying them much attention. The first plasma bolt came without warning. It struck with such precision and speed that Maya didn't even have time to scream. Her small body crumpled instantly. The rock collections scattered around her like forgotten memories. The Zarian patrol continued its methodical sweep, the soldiers treating the incident as nothing more than a minor operational detail. Within moments, the colony's communication network erupted with panic and grief. Parents rushed to secure their children. Security protocols activated and a profound silence descended over New Horizon. The Zarian ship remained overhead, indifferent to the devastation it had just caused. Kyungmi Park, Maya's mother, was the first to reach her daughter's body. Her professional demeanor, usually calm and calculated, shattered completely. Her screams of anguish echoed through the settlement, a sound that would haunt every human who heard it. Jae-sung Kim, the colony's chief of security, stood nearby, his face a mask of controlled rage. The colony's leadership gathered quickly. Medical teams confirmed what everyone already knew. Maya was gone. The Zarian Empire had not even acknowledged the incident, treating the death of a human child as a mere statistical anomaly in their vast galactic operations. What the Zarians did not understand was the fundamental nature of human resilience. This was not just a loss, this was a trigger. In the days that followed, the initial shock of grief transformed into something far more dangerous. The colonists began to change. Their discussions became quiet, intense. Computer screens flickered, with complex calculations. Communication networks were repurposed. Research facilities worked overtime. The settlement that had once been focused on peaceful colonization now hummed with a different energy. Every scientist, every engineer, every parent transformed their skills into potential weapons. They did not seek to match the Zarian Empire's military might. They sought to destroy it in ways the Empire could not even comprehend. Jae-sung Kim looked at the scattered rocks Maya had collected, now preserved as a memorial. Each stone represented potential. Potential for survival, for revenge, for a message that would echo across the galaxy. The Zarian Empire had made a critical mistake. They had believed humans were just another species to be controlled, monitored, and if necessary, eliminated. They were wrong. In the quiet corners of New Horizon, a plan was taking shape. A plan that would start with a simple message. You killed our child. Now run. The stars above New Horizon seemed to watch, silent witnesses to the birth of a vengeance that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. The underground research facility of New Horizon hummed with quiet intensity. Jae-sung Kim sat surrounded by holographic displays, his fingers moving swiftly across quantum interfaces that seemed to breathe with electronic life. Photographs of Maya were pinned around his workspace, a constant reminder of the mission that consumed him. Years of computational strategy training had prepared him for this moment. Where other strategists might have sought direct military confrontation, Jae-sung understood something more profound. Information was the most devastating weapon. The Zarian Empire believed in rigid structures, predictable systems, and overwhelming technological superiority. They would soon learn how fragile those beliefs could be. His first breakthrough came with quantum communication disruption protocols. Traditional communication relied on predictable transmission paths. Jae-sung designed algorithms that could literally dance between quantum states, making tracking impossible. Each line of code carried a hidden signature, a digital memorial, to Maya. Nearby, a team of AI specialists worked on adaptive warfare systems. These were not traditional weapons, but intelligent networks that could learn, predict, and counteract Imperial defense mechanisms in milliseconds. The AI would become a ghost in their systems, invisible yet omnipresent. Kyung-mi Park, Maya's mother, contributed her expertise in communication technologies. Her grief had transformed into a cold, calculating intelligence. She understood psychological warfare better than most military strategists. Together with Jae-sung, they began designing systems that would not just attack the Zarian Empire's infrastructure, but break their psychological foundations. Their strategy was elegant in its simplicity. They would make the Zarians feel hunted, uncertain, afraid. Small drone prototypes began appearing in the facility. These were not massive war machines, but intelligent, nearly invisible units capable of infiltrating complex systems. Each drone was programmed with sophisticated evasion protocols that made traditional tracking methods useless. Jae-sung watched holographic simulations of potential attack scenarios. His team had mapped every known Zarian communication node, trade, route, and military installation. They weren't planning a war. They were planning a surgical dismantling of an entire Imperial system. Psychological warfare algorithms developed by the team would broadcast specific frequencies designed to create confusion and doubt. Imperial communication channels would become unreliable. Navigation systems would suddenly become unpredictable. Trade routes would become dangerous. The humans of New Horizon worked with a precision born from grief. Every system they designed carried an emotional payload, a silent scream for Maya. They were transforming their pain into a weapon more dangerous than any physical attack. Quantum encryption became their primary language. Messages would be transmitted in patterns so complex that traditional decryption would become impossible. The Zarian Empire would know something was happening, but never understand what. Local. Colonists who once worked in agriculture, engineering, and research now contributed specialized skills. An agricultural expert designed nanobots that could subtly disrupt Imperial supply chains. A communication specialist created communication ghosts that would make tracking impossible. Jae-sung understood that true revenge was not about destruction, but about making the enemy understand their complete vulnerability. The Zarian Empire would learn that humans were not just another species to be controlled, but a force that could dismantle entire systems with nothing more than intelligence and determination. As weeks passed, the facility transformed. What had begun as a morning community became a precision weapon. Every computer, every algorithm, every design carried the memory of a lost child. The message was clear: harm one human, and you awaken something far more dangerous than a military force. The stars outside the facility seemed to watch silently, witnesses to a plan that would soon reshape the understanding of human capability. Across the galaxy, the Zarian Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had turned grief into a weapon, and weapons, once unleashed, cannot be easily stopped. The quantum transmission began silently, without warning or fanfare. Imperial communication networks suddenly flickered, data streams twisted into impossible patterns that defied traditional understanding. At the central command of the Zarian Imperial control, Screens across hundreds of stations began to display a message that would change everything. In precise, cold letters that seemed to burn through digital space, the message appeared. You killed He-Wan. Now we will show you what humanity means. No embellishment, no dramatic threats, just a simple statement that carried the weight of an entire civilization's determination. Imperial communication officers stared in confusion. Senior commanders called emergency meetings. The message wasn't just a transmission, it was a declaration of something far more dangerous than war. It was a promise. Jae-Sung Kim watched from New Horizons' underground facility, his fingers hovering over quantum interfaces. Each broadcast carried multiple layers of complexity. The message wasn't just words, it was a sophisticated infiltration, protocol designed to probe and map Imperial communication systems. Within minutes, strange disruptions began across Zarian-controlled sectors. Navigation systems in trade ships suddenly became unreliable. Communication channels developed unexpected static. Military tracking systems started showing phantom signals that disappeared before they could be analyzed. The Zarian Empire prided itself on technological superiority. They had conquered dozens of civilizations, treating smaller species as mere resources to be managed and controlled. Humanity had always been considered a minor developing species, barely worth serious consideration. That perception was about to change. In the research facility, Kyungmi Park monitored the initial response. Imperial systems were trying to trace the transmission, but her quantum encryption made traditional tracking impossible. Each attempt to locate the source only revealed more layers of complexity. Young technicians worked with a quiet intensity. Their grief had transformed into a calculated intelligence that surprised even their leadership. They weren't just sending a message, they were demonstrating a capability that would redefine galactic power dynamics. Imperial analysts began reporting strange phenomena. Communication relays in distant sectors started showing unexplained interruptions. Trade routes developed mysterious navigation challenges. Military communication channels developed unexpected delays and interference. The message about He-Wan was more than just words. It was a precise, calculated demonstration of human technological capability. Each disruption carried a subtle signature, a quantum fingerprint that whispered a clear warning. Humanity was not a species to be underestimated. Zarian Command debated their response. Some suggested military intervention, others recommended communication attempts. But the uncertainty was growing. How could they fight an enemy they couldn't even locate or understand? In the vast darkness of space, New Horizons facility continued its silent operation. Quantum transmissions danced between stars, carrying messages that would reshape galactic understanding. The loss of a single child had triggered a response no Imperial system could have predicted. Humanity was speaking, and the galaxy would be forced to listen. The transmission ended as quietly as it began, but its impact would echo through Imperial systems for cycles to come. A simple message, a profound promise, a warning that carried the weight of an entire civilization's resolve. You killed He-Wan. Now we will show you what humanity means. The stars outside New Horizons facility seemed to watch silently, witnesses to a transformation that would change everything. The Zarian Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated human potential. And potential, once awakened, cannot be controlled. The transmission arrived at the heart of the Zarian Imperial Command during their most critical emergency session. Hundreds of senior officers sat in a massive circular chamber, holographic displays flickering with increasingly desperate reports of system failures and economic disruptions. Jae-Sung Kim's quantum transmission cut through their most secure communication channels like a digital knife. The message was simple, direct, and carried a weight that silenced every conversation in the room. We gave you a chance. Run, because next time, we won't stop. No additional explanation, no dramatic threats, just a cold, calculated warning that sent chills through the entire Imperial leadership. The transmission itself was a masterpiece of technological complexity. It contained embedded data packets that simultaneously mapped their entire communication infrastructure while delivering its message. Each character was a quantum encrypted weapon, revealing the absolute vulnerability of their most secure systems. Imperial. Analysts tried to trace the transmission. Their most advanced tracking systems found nothing, just phantom signals that disappeared the moment they were detected. It was like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. Kyungmi Park watched from New Horizon, her eyes reflecting the cold determination that had transformed their grief into a galactic statement. The nanodrone networks continued their silent work, disrupting systems faster than they could be repaired. Economic. Reports showed massive instability. Trade routes that had been stable for centuries were now considered high risk. Imperial investment systems were collapsing. What had once seemed like an unbreakable economic structure was now revealing its fundamental weakness. The warning wasn't just about military might. It demonstrated something far more dangerous: the ability to completely destabilize a technological civilization without firing a single traditional weapon. Humanity had turned their pain into a precision instrument of strategic communication. Military commanders argued about response strategies. Some suggested direct military action. Others proposed diplomatic negotiations, but each suggestion seemed increasingly ridiculous given the comprehensive nature of the human intervention. The nanodrones continued their work. Communication relays developed mysterious interruptions. Navigation systems became unreliable. Economic tracking suddenly developed unexplained gaps. It was a death by 1,000 digital cuts. What the Zarian Empire failed to understand was the fundamental nature of human adaptation. Where other species might have sought direct confrontation, humans had transformed their technological capabilities into a weapon of psychological warfare. Each disruption carried a message. You are not invincible. You are not untouchable. You can be reached. You can be hurt. The final transmission was more than just a warning. It was a demonstration of capabilities that redefined galactic power dynamics. Humanity was no longer a developing species to be managed. They were a force to be respected. In the quiet research facilities of New Horizon, technicians worked with a calm intensity. They weren't celebrating. They were preparing. Because the message was clear. This was just the beginning. Imperial communication. Channels continued to develop unexpected behaviors. Trade routes became unpredictable. Military communication systems started showing signs of comprehensive infiltration. The galaxy watched in silent uncertainty. A small human colony had just demonstrated an ability to challenge an entire Imperial system. Not through traditional warfare, but through intelligent, precise technological intervention. Jae-sung Kim looked at the photograph of Hee-won beside his monitoring station. The child's smile seemed to carry a message of its own. A reminder of why they had started this journey. A promise that humanity would never again be considered insignificant. The stars outside New Horizon seemed to watch silently, witnesses to a transformation that would be remembered across generations. The Zarian Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated human potential, and potential once awakened cannot be controlled. Humanity had spoken. The galaxy would listen.